Hey guys, got a gallon of milk that I need to use, so I decided today I'm going to make some processed cheese, kind of like Cheese Whiz or Velveeta, like a soft spreadable American style cheese. So follow along, I'll show you how I do it. Well, I woke up this morning, it was pretty cold. It's fall here in New England, and we've got the wood stove going. I'm going to take advantage of that. And we're going to bring the milk to heat. What we want to do is bring this to about 140 to 150 degrees. We don't want it to boil. I'm going to just use standard grocery store whole milk, but you can use raw milk, would actually even work better. Cow milk, goat milk, it doesn't matter for this recipe. We're not using a rennet. We're not using any kind of cheese cultures. This is all basic ingredients that most people have in their kitchen. I'm going to use a digital thermometer, but if you're really good, you can just dip in your finger, and when it's bath water warm, it's probably ready. But let's get this on the stove and we'll get started. Okay, I'm just going to get this on the stove and get my thermometer in there. And if you've seen in the past, thermometers always seem to fall into the pots on me. So I like to use a clothespin to hold the thermometer onto the pot. That way I'm not worried about it dropping in on me. And then I'm going to throw a cover on it just to start getting it up to temperature. But pay attention to this and stir it as it's heating up, because we don't want it to come to a boil, and we also don't want it to burn to the bottom of the pan. Well, our milk is getting there. We're a little over 100 degrees right now. What you want to do is just make sure to keep stirring this. It's a constant stir. We don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pot. And like I said, we want to make sure this doesn't come to a boil either. So I'm just going to keep stirring this, keep the milk moving, and once we hit that temperature, it'll be time to take it off the heat. We just hit temperature, and as you can see, it's not boiling, but it does have a froth or a foam on it. And like I was saying before, you can put your finger in, and if you have a froth on your finger like that and it feels like a very warm bath water, that's probably the right temperature. If you want to be more accurate, use a thermometer, and that way you know you're going to be safe. But either way, let's get this off the stove. I'll bring it back over to the island and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, and while this is still hot, what we're going to add is 1/2 cup of white vinegar. And this is what we're going to be using to curdle the milk and bring out the curd. We're not using a rennet. And you don't need any special kind of cheese cultures for this either. So it's a very simple cheese. There's a couple more ingredients we'll be using for the final product, but it's all common household stuff. So I'm just going to stir this a little bit. You can see we're already starting to get curd from this. I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll bring you back. At that point, we should be all set and we can strain the curd from the whey. Well, the curd separated from the whey. Next thing is to strain it, and I'm going to use a method that if you've watched any of my other cheese making videos, I usually just put cheesecloth into good old-fashioned colander, and I'm going to set that on top of a bowl to catch the whey. And we're not pressing this into a dry cheese. We're just trying to drain the whey out so that we have our curd available. So I'm not worried about hanging this over the sink or putting it into a cheese press or anything like that. So now's the messy part. I'm gonna take the curd and whey and pour it into our bowl here. And I always make a mess doing this. Give that a second to to drain a little bit. Okay. All right, and then I'm just going to take up my corners, give this a little bit of a lift. There we go. And I'm going to let it sit here and drain probably for about 10-15 minutes just to get the majority of this whey out. You can see there's quite a bit in here. And as soon as this is done, I'll come back and we'll do the next step. While I'm waiting for this to finish draining, I took the whey from the bowl, poured it back into my pot, and just as a bonus, I'm going to make some ricotta cheese. I'm not going to get a whole lot from the amount that we made here, but what ricotta means in Italian, roughly, is recooked. And it's when you take the whey from making one type of cheese, and there's still some milk fats in here. So what I'm going to do is add 1/4 cup more of white vinegar. You can add lemon juice, white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, whatever you want. I choose to use white vinegar because it doesn't really affect the flavor so much. So I'm going to give that a quick stir. And all I'm going to do is put this back on the heat and bring the temperature up to about 110 degrees. And then take it off the heat and let whatever milk fats are left curdle back up. And we'll strain this through a muslin. And we'll let this drain a lot longer than we're going to let this drain. And this will be our ricotta cheese. So let me get this back on the stove and I'll be right back. While our cheese is draining over here, what I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball the size of this. And I need containers that I'm going to be able to put all this in. I know from the past I've used this container and it's more than enough to fit my cheese. But what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to make a variety of flavors. So I'm going to use these jelly jars. Whatever you plan on using, you're going to want to butter the inside of it just so it doesn't stick to that container. It'll release a little bit easier. And like I said, if you can use a big container, just go ahead and grease up the inside of it. I'm using butter. You can use salted butter, unsalted butter. It's gonna add a little bit to the flavor. So just keep in mind whatever it is that you use may affect the flavor. So if you can use Crisco or something like that. I'm gonna use these little jars because today I wanna show that you can make a variety of different flavors. I know when you buy these things from like Cracker Barrel or a place like that, you can get port wine swirled in, or I've heard beer is used, nuts, different seasonings, bacon and cheddar. So we're gonna make a few different flavors just to show you how it's done. But I just wanna grease the inside of my containers, and I'm gonna get this out of the way while I'm waiting for this to finish draining. You want to have these ready because as soon as we take the finished cheese off the stove, got to work kind of quick before it sets up in the pan. So I'll get these greased up and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now we're moving into the final stretch. Well, I've got a heavy bottom pot here. I don't know how many quarts this is, but it's more than enough to fit the amount of cheese curd I have here. I'm using a heavy bottom pot, less likely to burn my cheese to the stove. I'm using a wood stove, so I really don't have a whole lot of control over temperature. So I've really got to watch what I'm doing here. You can use whatever pot you have available. I recommend something with a thick bottom though. As you can see, our curds are no longer actively dripping. They're still damp, but we're not looking for a dry cheese. We just don't want something that's dripping with whey. So I'm going to move these into this pot. I'm going to do that off camera because I'm going to make a mess. There's never a super neat way of doing this. I'm going to dump the majority of it directly into my pot here. And then I'm going to spend the next couple minutes scraping up this mess and getting it in the pot. I got the curd transferred over and cleaned up my mess. So the next thing we're going to do is add our other ingredients. I'm going to add just under a tablespoon of butter. It's like 2.5 teaspoons of butter. I'm gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now with the butter, you can use salted butter, unsalted butter, that doesn't matter. It may add a little salt to the flavor. If you don't want that much salt, you can always cut back on the amount of additional salt that you put in. And then we're gonna add 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna smooth out the cheese. It's gonna make it very creamy. Okay, so with those added, let's get this moved over to the stove and we'll get this all melted together. Okay, what I'm gonna do is constantly stir this and watch my temperature. I really don't want this to get too hot. We're not trying to burn the cheese or cook the cheese. All I wanna do is melt this all down together. And it happens pretty quick. Usually just within a few minutes. So we'll get this mixed and, like I said, keep it moving in the pan. And I'll show you when we're getting ready to take it off the stove. Okay, as you can see, it's getting there. It's all melted down, but see how it's still kind of chunky? Again, keep it moving. Don't let this sit or it's going to burn to the bottom of the pot. And inevitably, you're going to have some burn to the bottom of the pot, a little bit at least. So you may have a little cleanup to do. Nothing that you can't accomplish with some crackers and a butter knife. But we're almost there. As soon as we're there, I'm going to take this off the heat and we'll get it moved over into our jars. And I'll bring you back when we're there. I'll show you what it looks like when I take it off the stove. All right, I think we're there. If you look at it now, if I pick it and kind of pour it, it's fairly smooth. It's very liquidy. And I don't want to bring this to a boil or anything like that, so I think we're there. All right, let's move this back over to the island and we'll get this added to our jars and we can add a few different seasonings and flavors to it. All right, so it's time to add this to our jars. So we're gonna have to work fairly quick. I'm gonna take and pour this in. And like I said, we're doing, ooh, I'm gonna make a mess. Like I said, we're doing individual jars because I'm gonna be doing some different flavors. So let me do a few of those now just to get those done. One is I'm gonna use bacon bits as one of our flavors. And I'm just gonna throw a pinch of those in there. You don't really need a whole lot, at least not with these jars. And then I'm gonna use a chopstick to kind of just swirl it in there. Okay, and then the next one we're gonna do, I chopped up some jalapeno peppers. Gonna drop those in there. And we'll make kind of like a pepper jack. I'll get those swirled in. And as the cheese thickens, it's not gonna harden like a hard cheese, but it's gonna thicken up because we're gonna get these in the refrigerator. And then another one that I'm gonna do an Italian seasoning. There's a lot of different flavors. Like I said, classics are like port wine and there's a lot of other things that you can add. Whatever you think would taste good with your cheese. You can do nuts. You can, from what I understand, coffee or coffee grounds. I don't know. Whatever it is that you want to add, go ahead and give it a shot. If you're going to use, and just let's say you find a flavor that you really like and that's what you're going to be making, you can do that with just one big batch. You don't have to do these individual cups. I usually, when I do this, like I said before, just use that one large container. But I thought for the video we'd try a few new flavors and see how they come out. So let me get these jars filled. I'll flavor a few more of them, and then I'll bring you back. Well, I finished all of these off. I did 2 with Italian seasoning, 2 with bacon bits, and 2 with jalapeno, chopped up jalapeno. Whatever you add, make sure you chop it up into very small bits, because this is a spread. So if you have chunks in there, like whole olives or something like that, it might make it a little awkward. And then just so I know which ones are which, I can't really tilt these, but I sprinkled a little bit of each of the seasonings on top. That way, after they dry and harden, when I take the lid off, I can see that the bacon bits are bacon bits. The Italian has Italian seasoning, and then I let the peppers all settle in here. So, but I can distinguish which one is which. So then the next thing we need to do is just take jar lids, get covers on these, and I'm going to move them into the refrigerator for up to 24 hours. I'm going to just leave them in overnight, and I'll show you what they look like in the morning. We'll give them a taste test, and I'll let you know what my favorite is. Okay, now that we have the cheese for the video in the refrigerator, back to our bonus cheese. This is just the ricotta. We reclaimed a little bit, maybe enough for a small meal, not enough to make like stuffed shells or a big 9x13 of lasagna, but enough that you can add it to a pizza, you can add it to a pasta dish, or you can freeze this, and every time you make cheese and then you make your ricotta, you can just add to that until you have enough to use for a larger meal. But I'm going to move it from here, just like we did last time. I've got my colander. This time I'm using a piece of muslin, just because my cheese curds are going to be a lot smaller. And I'm going to pour this in and try not to make another mess. And there we go. And with this, I'm going to let it drain a lot longer. Again, we're not trying to make a dry cheese, but ricotta cheese in general isn't dripping wet, but it's definitely not a dry cheese either. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hang this muslin. I'm going to let the whey drain from this. I'm probably going to take the whey that we have here and use it to make some chicken food. There's a lot of different uses for whey. You can go ahead and research that yourself. I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but it's great as compost in the gardens, used to help to ferment chicken feed, however you're going to use it. But as you can see, a lot less cheese in this than what we started with our first batch. But you know, waste not, want not. I'll take this, we'll get it drained, I'll put it in a container, and I'll save this for later. Anyway, see you in the morning, and I'll show off my spreadable cheese and let you know how that turned out. Well, it's the next morning. I took the cheese out of the fridge. I ended up with 2 of the jalapeno, 2 of the bacon bits, and 2 of the Italian seasoning. We also have 4 ounces of ricotta cheese, and that was just a bonus. So, time to open them up, see what they look like, see how they spread, and I'll have Marilyn sit in with me. We'll tell you what our favorite is out of the 3. Okay, let's get these scooped out. I'm gonna make 6 crackers. I'll make 2 of each. That way me and Marilyn can both try it out. I'll show you how smooth it is to scoop from the jar. We'll start with the jalapeno one. I think this is going to be good. Nice and creamy. Get a cracker. We'll spread that out on the cracker. Looks good. Let me get all 3 of these served up on some crackers. I'll have Marilyn come out and we'll give them a shot.
Well, Steve stole me from out with the chicken, so excuse, but I think it's going to definitely be worth it to give these a try.
Who doesn't love cheese and crackers?
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to, well, I'll tell you which ones are which. bacon, Italian seasoning, and jalapeno, which isn't going to be too hot. So it's...
I think I'm going to try, let's see, I'm going to go in reverse order for what I think my favorite is. So I'm going to start with the Italian and see how I like that one.
Okay.
That's really good. I can picture that with a piece of pepperoni on top.
Yep. Now, this isn't just for crackers. I mean, if you want to spread this on a sandwich, I will say this, it's got an extremely low melting point. So if you do put this on a sandwich that you plan on heating, like, I don't think you could make a grilled cheese with this, because as soon as it gets hot, it's just going to really melt down into a liquid. Where it would be good is maybe over nachos. So you can easily turn this into like a queso, where you can melt it down and pour it over something, pour it over French fries, pour it over nachos, that type of thing. But and you can spread it on bread to make a sandwich out of it, but not a cooked sandwich. I don't think it would be good for that. It would just melt.
Now, we've made this before with a cheddar powder added to it while he was cooking it. And it was great if I made a slice of toast and then took the spreadable cheese and spread that on the toast. That was really good as like just a cheddar on toast.
Right. And what she's talking about is powdered cheddar. If you buy, or even if you have a freeze dryer and you make your own powdered cheddar, the difference is it's not something that you add to the cheese like we did with the other ingredients, like the jalapenos or the bacon bits. You would add 1 tablespoon, using the recipe that I gave in this video, use 1 tablespoon of powdered cheddar and stir that in when it's on the stove and you're melting it down. It'll give you more of an orange, semi-cheddar flavored spreadable cheese. But it's the same cheese, it just has a different color and a different flavor to it.
Yeah. And it was very good as well.
So who's next?
I'm going to try the jalapeno next.
Okay.
It's good. It has that little bit of spicy to it. Not overwhelming though.
I didn't use a lot. I think that's the trick with, like, even with a pepper jack, you don't want to put too much pepper in it. Otherwise, you know, you've turned it into a contest. We're not going to use our super chilies or habaneros or ghost peppers or anything like that.
Unless you're really into the hot peppers.
Yeah, unless you're really into hot peppers. I think jalapenos are good. It gives you a little bit of heat, but it's more about the jalapeno flavor mixed with the cheese. I think it makes a good combo.
Yep, this is very good as well. And last, but certainly not least, we're going to try the ones with the bacon.
Smoky.
I thought this was
No. Jack loves cheese and he loves crackers. So
he's not getting any of these.
I'll keep him away.
Surprisingly enough, I don't think this is my favorite.
I like the Italian.
The Italian.
And I do like the bacon one.
Yeah, the Italian might be my favorite.
Now, if you eat real bacon, we're both vegetarians, so bacon bits for us. But if you made real bacon, that would work with this as well. This is a cheese that you're not going to be putting on your shelf or aging for any length of time. This is a refrigerator cheese, and it should be fine jarred for about a month. After that, you know, just like any other cheese, you just want to pay attention and make sure it's not growing anything. Oh, what did we do? Jalapeno and bacon. Okay. This is like one of those got milk commercials.
Didn't want to talk with my mouth completely full. Combination of the bacon jalapeno, awesome. I think it elevates both of them, so that might be something we try in the future, is a mix with the two of those. Like I said, I think the Italian with some pepperoni or sausage like you get in those Christmas baskets would be absolutely
I
amazing.
like a summer sausage.
No, I can picture doing this almost, I don't know how it would set up, but if you did it in something rounded and then turned it upside down on a platter for the holidays.
Oh, yeah, if you want to do like a holiday. Now, if you're going to do that, here's my suggestion. Grease a round bowl, and while it's greased, sprinkle crushed nuts into the bowl, let it stick to the oil, then pour your cheese in, let it set up, and when it releases from the bowl, it'll be encrusted with whatever nuts, and it'll be a great cheese ball for the holidays. If you want to do something like that.
Yeah, I can imagine putting like
but
cranberry in it.
I think in the jelly-sized jars also make a great gift. If you want to gift somebody who's a cheese lover, your own spreadable cheeses, different flavors, maybe with an assortment of crackers, you could make a gift basket or something like that.
Yeah, but even in the small jars for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, these would be great to have out, or just a family get together.
Yeah.
You know, when you're getting together, you can take out the different ones. You can have all different flavors and varieties. That way people can choose what they like. I think this is a great way to share that cheese with the people that you care about, whether it's friends, family.
I love cheese, but I also like to keep things simple. I don't really care for having to buy special ingredients to make a certain type of cheese. It's not a hobby of mine, so I'm not going to go out and I'm not going to buy cultures, and I'm not going to use rennet. There's different rennets, if you want, that you can use that are natural. Fig sap, wood sorrel, from what I understand, is used as a vegetable rennet as well. There's a lot of different things you can use as a rennet. I choose to just use acids. You can use lemon juice, or you can use different vinegars. And the different types of vinegars will give you different flavors in your cheese. So it's something worth experimenting with.
Yeah, and I can imagine if you used the lemon juice, even if you had a little bit of a lemony flavor, if you did a fruit additive to your cheese as opposed to your regular seasonings like
blueberry or cranberry.
That would make an awesome
cranberry walnut
flavor mix
for the holidays
as well.
would be good. Anyway, I'll let Marilyn finish up her crackers, because if she doesn't, I will. And hopefully you got something out of this video. Marilyn got a couple crackers out of it. If you like the video, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Share it with your friends if you think they'd be interested in it. And I'll see you in the next video.
Remember, leave comments if you try this. Let us know how it comes out and what your favorite additives were. Take care, everybody.
See ya.